The Fellowship of Guelphissauga continues, with Ty of the Max being cleaner than the Tide Guy. On Monday afternoon, a rare gathering of sunshine listers formed the Municipal Election Compliance Audit Committee to humor the witch hunt. Amanda of Turner summoned the committee to investigate Ty's election donations and website advertising. Meanwhile, the housing cost crisis expanded into Riverside Park as Regg of Struyk wrote an open letter about it, and the rent strikes began in the swamps of Toronto. Can the Elder Elves fix the housing cost crisis, and will Ty of the Max survive his election compliance audit? In the half-empty Council of Elders chambers, a rare event occurred this week with the gathering of the Municipal Election Compliance Audit Committee. They were summoned by Amanda of Turner to request an audit of Ty of the Max election funding. Scheduled right in the middle of his family vacation, the committee humored Amanda's request. In a shaky voice, Amanda started the meeting by announcing her pronouns, and then asked the committee to inspect Ty's election spending in relation to his donations and website. She had two concerns about his lack of donations and unequal advertising opportunities on his website. But Ty of the Max didn't have to say a word to counter the first of the two accusations in the witch hunt. He was open and transparent with his online donations and provided screenshots of his empty accounts before the meeting. Amanda couldn't argue against those receipts and apologized for the accusation, having no further concerns about donations. The second concern was in relation to his website and online advertising. Another candidate in the election, Erin of Caton, had emailed Ty about advertising her election campaign on his Cotton Guelph website and group. Ty replied with, "In the near future, there may be equal sponsorship opportunities for all Guelph municipal candidates." Amanda of Turner interpreted the "maybe" and "equal" in Ty's email to Caton to mean that there currently existed unequal advertising opportunities for election candidates on his website. She could not provide any additional evidence outside of the publicly available information, the email from Erin of Caton, and the receipts provided by Ty. Within 15 minutes, the eldest on the committee asked a key question to Amanda of Turner. "Is your concern that no donations were recorded? Is there something more to that?" She explained how her concern came from his popularity without receiving any donations. She couldn't understand how someone so transparent and accountable could be so popular in an election. "There were hundreds of signs on lawns across the city," she exclaimed. She was so surprised to hear that not 1 cent was received in contributions, and it raised concerns with me that something had been missed. She had no concerns about any particular donation, so that's when the meeting should have ended. But it went on for another hour. When the committee finished asking Amanda questions, Ty of the Max took his turn at the mic. By being cleaner than the Tide Guy, he easily dodged Amanda's concern about his lack of election donations with his receipts. Ty said that Amanda hasn't presented any official evidence that suggests I had received any donations from anyone. He calmly stated that the audit was unjust and had vindictive nature to it. He asked the committee to humor the request to investigate that, but they called the question irrelevant to them. They are the Election Compliance Audit Committee, not the Vindictive Reporting Audit Committee. That committee may or may not exist, but who knows now that the mayor has its strong mayor powers and can dismantle committees at will. After hearing Ty of the Max reply, the committee voted to close the doors to the public as they made their decision. They walked out of the council chambers to grab a coffee and check their emails in the hallway. With full bellies and empty bladders, they eventually returned to the chambers to give their decision. The committee has determined that we have not been presented with reasonable grounds to request an audit, Chair Robert O. Williams declared. Ty nodded in approval to the obvious decision as Amanda of Turner sat there in silence. The committee didn't give any reasons for the decision yet, but we'll be publishing it next week in case it isn't obvious. Meanwhile, in the Shire, More open letters were written about the housing cost crisis as it expanded into Riverside Park. Regg of Struyk wrote about, "We seem to miss the real questions that need to be answered instead of wasting time with election audit committees." He criticized the mayor's supply-side solution to the pricing problem. "Why is housing so expensive? Do we think it is really supply?" he questioned openly. The Corporation of the Shire proposed $5.5 million every year in development reduction fees to contribute to new housing supply. So yet again, reduce the cost for businesses and transfer to whom? That would be Guelph taxpayers to fund profiting developers, Regg exclaimed. If only there was a more general way to cut the cost of housing for both homeowners and home builders, such as cutting residential taxes in the Shire, then the Council of Elders could address the pricing problem more generally. But the mayor is having difficulties giving up his $13.7 million surplus as he plays European-inspired SimCity on the used Game Boy he picked up 2 weeks ago at a garage sale. He will have to act quickly before the rent strikes in the swamps of Toronto come to the Shire. Can Carly of Classen and the Elder Elves fix the housing cost crisis? And will Ty of the Max find the vindictive reporting audit committee? Stay tuned here to see.